Hi and welcome everybody to another modcast starring yours truly. I am Stuart. You know me on that as what the... Keep that face. Hi everybody. Hi everybody, welcome to the modcast. I'm going to say that there to keep that little arm in. Hi everybody, welcome to another modcast. We are ModdedGossip. I'm Stu. This is Ali. And we're going to be talking about...
Your mum! Robocop.
I'm keeping that
Robocop. Dead or alive, you're coming with me. Now, Robocop's a cyborg, not a robot or an android.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of our modcast. We've been doing this for a variety of weeks where we talk about different subjects that are harrowing and important in the technology and gaming industry, and we like to take controversial subjects. Not controversial as in the sort of, dodgy, weird ones, but we're talking about controversial that actually have positives and negatives with them that could cause controversy. I said that really funny.
Especially with society in general.
Yeah, especially with society.
Today is going to potentially cause controversy within society as it develops, as it evolves. But this is the very beginning, I think.
Yeah. Well, the title of this podcast, as you know, if you've clicked on the title already, you will know what it is. But it's Robots on eBay, the Uncanny Valley. So basically what's going to happen today is we're going to be talking about different robotics manufacturers, different robots, different androids. And if you don't know, if you haven't heard anything about these things, then I really, really suggest that you go and look them up, because to me they're quite dangerous. Not at the moment, they're not dangerous at the moment, but they have the potential to be horrifying. But we're going to be talking about different robots and different uses and different types, and we're just going to be talking mainly like Boston Dynamics being able to sell to the public. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw you over to Ali, and he's going to start us off with some points.
Okay, so what do we know? We know that Boston Dynamics will start selling their robots to the general public and businesses. So basically, if you've got enough money, you don't need some sort of license. You can go out and buy them. And they've got a variety of different robots, but the first one they're going to try and sell is Spot Mini. Spot Mini is like a dog. It's a dog with an articulated arm that has an appendage on it to pick stuff up. It's kind of strange looking. What do you think, Stuart? It's very strange looking, isn't it?
I think it's got some good uses, but before we go into this, I just thought when you said Boston Dynamics, when I've said Boston Dynamics, people might not know what Boston Dynamics is.
Oh, right. Okay.
So Boston Dynamics is an American engineering and robotics company. They basically make and produce and research robotics that can be used domestically, military, but not for offensive means. It's things that to help survivors in rubble or crashes or anything, so they don't have to send a human in, but they basically research this, and it's been going on since 1992, I think.
And do you know what the other name is for them?
I don't know.
It's Skynet.
Oh, I thought there was going to be something good, but anyway, so they're a company that have been working on these different aliases of robots. But we were talking about, was it Big Dog we were talking about, wasn't it? Yeah, Big Dog. I don't think Big Dog is very intimidating to me. Big Dog, basically, it looks like a dog. It can take up to 50 pounds or... No.
14 kilograms it can take on its arm attachment. We're talking about Spot Mini.
Oh, Spot Mini. I thought we were talking about Big Dog. Sorry.
No, Spot Mini.
Spot Mini is the one that there's a video of Spot Mini on Boston Dynamics YouTube where they basically it runs around their workshop on its own, unassisted, just like a dog. It's got a camera and an arm. It's pretty cool. I don't think that's the sort of robot that's going to be intimidating. I think it's going to do a lot of good, because you think of things like if earthquakes happen or any sort of disasters of any sort, and you need to get people out or anything like that, you could send one of them in. It's a lot smaller than a person, so you could just literally just send them in with a camera, and then find survivors or just anything like that. It would be good. It would be good for that sort of thing. But,
but that's
on the far left scale of Boston Dynamics.
Yeah. This is to like bordering domestic office use. They want to angle this for.
Yeah, basically. So if you're in an office, you're like, I need some paper. Stick it on your Spot Mini. Send it to like to another office like cubicle.
I think that's an
unnecessary. No, but it's an unnecessary use for a robot. Well,
I would literally get me to. I'd be like, right, just go to the cafe and get me a cappuccino, please. And then it's just. I can see uses for robots, but in a domestic or a commercial setting, as in white collar, not blue collar. We've got robots in car factories right now, for safety in that, which we can talk about. To be honest, everyone can see that. Robots were used in the Chernobyl disaster. Very basic, but they were used because the radiation was way too high to allow humans in. They didn't last very long, mind you. But, I can understand all that. But this is...
It's like making a use for something that doesn't need a use.
It's like Apple. It's creating... almost. It's creating a demand for a product that people don't think they need yet.
Yeah, it's for laziness though. Like things like the Spot Mini, it's for laziness. Let's face it. If they want to do it in a like commercial, they say it's the description. Boston Dynamics Mark Raber on TechCrunch Robotics Session 2018 announced Spot Mini robots is in pre-production and preparing for commercial availability in 2019. So highlights the Spot Mini is the quietest robot they've ever built. Weighs 66 pounds, can operate for 90 minutes on a charge. The company says it has plans with contract manufacturers to build the first 100 Spot Minis later this year for commercial purposes, with them starting to scale production with the goal of selling Spot Mini in 2019. Right, so as soon as they release that to the public, right, and I'm not being like negative or a pessimist or anything, but as soon as they release that to the public and the technology is in front of them, look at mobile phones. As soon as you get a mobile phone, people open them up. They find out what's inside. They find out how it works, how it runs. Then people start to mod them, and then people start to alter them. Like, for instance, like this, the things that kind of, like, just humour me a second. And I hate, it's just something that popped in my head, and I think you need to answer this for me. So how much weight can this Spot Mini take?
14 kilos.
14 kilos. How much does a bomb weigh?
Oh, 14 kilo bomb could be pretty dangerous.
Anything up to that, there is no human, like, friendly, if you think about it, like, on the side. There is no life loss and sending one of them in.
Oh, no, but hang on a second. Then let's extend that trail of thought. So the AI in the Spot Mini, Boston Dynamics could then put that into a drone.
Oh, yeah. But
my father's just bought a new drone, for example. It's waterproof. You can land it on water. It will carry 1 kilo. It's got a camera with a gimbal on it. No, it's got a gimbal with a camera on it. So you can have 2 people piloting that. But the other thing it's got is you've got Google Maps on your phone, and the drone can be point and click. You point on the coordinates, it goes. And then
you go off and do something else, and it just makes its way.
So it wouldn't take much to then program a pre-scheduled flight. So this whole idea, this could easily be used for a terrorist. It runs into a shop, and then say, for example, the bomb is. It could be quite easy. The bomb would be pressure activated, so it drops the bomb on the floor, and it's got pressure activation on the bottom.
As soon as it goes, bang, and that's the sort of stuff that really kind of freaks me out. I don't like mentioning things like that. I'm really paranoid that it gives people ideas, but they're the sort of issues that really kind of freak me out, because the video, like the Boston Dynamics video that they put out, they basically let it run around the workshop, and then it's got some stairs that it climbs up, and then it goes round, and then it climbs down the stairs, and then goes, and like just walks off. It like keeps walking off, like running off down there. Then it decides that it's going the wrong way, and it runs, and then goes, oh no, and then changes direction because it's making its own path. It's finding the best route to get to where it's been told to go.
Yeah.
Now, that's fantastic technology in the right hands. Like, the Spot Mini it's fantastic technology. But then all it takes is for someone to sit there and go, oh, yeah, well, I've got one of these Spot Minis and I really need to eliminate some people. I'm going to set those GPS coordinates and put this, I don't know, nail bomb or whatever. And then all of a sudden, you've just created this platform for more terrorism.
Yeah.
And that's horrifying to me. It's horrifying.
Some uses... Because that extreme, and I completely agree with you there, and it wouldn't be difficult because you could just, if there was a command that says pick up an item and drop it off at a location, then come back to me. Well, you can easily do that with a bomb. You wouldn't need any expert reprogramming of the firmware for it to do that.
No,
at all.
It's just send and receive, isn't it?
Yeah. So for me, I could see a personal use for it though, and it comes back to the film I, Robot. In iRobot, there's an asthmatic, and the robot runs back home to get the inhaler. Something like that in an emergency, if you could program it to do that.
Oh,
that
definitely.
would be, that would be good. I'd basically just tape a spare inhaler to it. It wouldn't be fancy. And then if I needed to, I'd have an emergency command where it finds me, and then I just take the inhaler off it instead of it having to hold it.
Yeah.
And also as a guard dog, but a guard dog in the sense of it's a roaming camera.
Yeah.
So you could have it, patrolling. And I'm just reading here, and they're talking about security robots. Security robots are already operational, and they were using one called the Nightscope K5.
Right.
And it was tasked with warding off homeless people from from a San Francisco building. It was knocked over by the homeless and smeared with excrement by an angry member of the public.
Beautiful.
So the thing is, with a robot like this, say you used it as a guard dog, something like this is fine. It's not going to do anything. It wouldn't attack. It would be there just to record, maybe warn.
You could send that feed to a phone or something.
Yeah, let's say you had something slightly bigger. Let's say you had something with a built-in taser, and if the software facial ID recognition didn't, recognize who came through, ask them not to come any further. So you could have a predetermined, boundary.
Yeah.
It could just taser them. But what if the software goes wrong? It all boils down to that. It did with AI. And
or if the software can be doctored.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing that worries me about these is it going to create a load of really lazy people?
But
will they just
it's the sort of thing where you if they're going to use this in an office, like I said before, they're going to be like, oh, I need to go get some paper from over there. I can't be bothered. Send the robot. That's not an effective use.
Well, you say that,
resources,
but a company may look at the accounts and say, oh, look, you've got people walking around. This office is quite big. The amenities are in different places and nothing we can do about it. And they spend, say, half an hour to 40 minutes a day shifting around, shuffling around, having to do stuff. That's another 40 minutes of productivity of them at the desk. So you look at the checks and balances.
As long as those people carry on doing something whilst they've sent the robot to do something.
Oh, yeah, but say you've got, I don't know, I'll give you a perfect example. You've got something like Linus Media Group, and you've got his editors. They want to go and get a drink, or they need to get this, that, and the other. They send the robot instead. That might increase efficiency by 5%. Or 5%, they might, I don't know how much they're getting paid, but editors don't get, it isn't cheap. So from a company's point of view, if the robot costs 10 grand, they might get that back in productivity over 2 or 3 years. Because you'd have more than one person using it.
I suppose if I don't know if companies hire things like T-boys and stuff anymore, but that could essentially replace a T-boy, and that's a wage that you don't have to pay anymore. You'd
always have the mailroom person, wouldn't you? They start in the mailroom, and they go to each. Well, that still happens for packages, especially now with eBay and stuff. It's prolific. It's not going to happen with letters, but you'll certainly get a large office building. And you wouldn't get a robot like this taking parcels around. You get something that could push the parcel trolley.
Yeah. Well, that brings on to another one. There's another one from Boston Dynamics is Atlas, who is a full two-legged machine that can.
I saw him go for a jog.
Yeah, he can jog, traverse terrain. He can push. He self-rights himself as well. So there's videos of he picks up boxes, like 10-kilo boxes, puts them on a shelf. But he picks up a box, and one of the Boston Dynamics people hits it out of his hand, and he realizes that he hasn't got it anymore. So he looks down, picks it up, but then the guy from Boston Dynamics then is with a hockey stick. He pushes him, and this Atlas robot like runs backwards and steadies itself.
Right.
And it's got its own like balancing mechanism.
Gyroscopic.
Yeah. And then he pushes it from the back, and pushes this Atlas thing from the back, and it falls right over. It falls on the floor, face first. And then all of a sudden his arms go, pushes up, and he's back on his legs again. It's self-righting. And things like that, for something small, something easy, 2 legs, you can literally just have it gripped permanently.
Yeah.
GPS location, walk around, doing the mail thing, or, I don't know, drinks. If as we were saying before, these are all office situations which would probably provide good use for it. It's still, for me, it still goes back to the whole, how can this be used negatively? Because ultimately the question for this is, not the question, the answer to me for this is, it scares me.
I think
this is the line now that we get into the point of no return in our life cycle.
That boils down to more about the AI. Because what scares me about robots is the AI, but the reason the AI scares me is that it's online and always connected to everything else.
They call it the cloud mind, don't they?
Yeah. So, because they're connected to the cloud, the internet, whatever you want to call it, in terms of that infrastructure. It could be a private network, but if it's global, it's still dangerous. Whereas if you've got a robot that's got their own built-in AI and it's literally the horsepower, on board, I'm not too bothered about that. It's when you could infect the majority of them, when you could send a command to thousands of these things at once.
Well,
that's why you need Asimov's laws. You have to have hard-coded, the 3 Asimov's laws hard-coded in.
And they are?
They are that they must preserve human life at all costs. They must do whatever
doesn't know.
They must do whatever a human asks them to do, unless it breaks law number 1, and they must at all costs try to preserve themselves unless it breaks law number 1 and law number 2. So you need those. You need those hard coded at a real low level kind of format, which could technically be broken unless they created a way to physically hard code it.
Yeah,
some way, somehow, and I'm not, in terms of the way software is built and the way it interacts with hardware. I don't know how you do that, but if they could do that, then there's not as much to worry about. But we just don't know at this point.
I can't remember the festival, but there was a Japanese festival. Let's have a look. No, I can't remember the name of the festival, but it was a Japanese festival for robotics, and it had a robot called Han. You know the robot called Han, but if you don't know, it's an android. Han is an android that learns that you tell it something, it will remember, and then it starts making its own assumptions and its own responses the more that it gets spoken to. It's the same company that does the Sophia one. If you've heard about that one in the news.
She freaks me out.
It's the first android ever in human history that's been given a citizenship by a country, and that's Saudi Arabia. She is now a Saudi Arabian citizen. She's quite lifelike. But anyway, at this Japanese sort of convention, not festival, it's like a convention, they have Han on one side, who's a male sort of middle-aged robot, and then they have Sophia on the other one. And this guy that's presenting it is really he's really good. He's a bit eclectic, and he looks a little bit like a stoner, but he's really good at explaining to it. And then they speak to each other. So basically, they start having conversations with each other, unscripted conversations, and it's quite scary. But then he starts talking about they're all connected to the cloud mind, which is basically like an iPhone, like, you know, your iCloud. It gets sent up into the sky, no matter what device you have, it gets downloaded. But one robot will learn something, and basically says, you know, if this is put in someone's house and it learns, you know, once all privacy has been taken into account, so it's obviously not going to, you know, talk passwords, addresses, different other things, you know, personal details, personal dramas and stuff. But when it learns something, instead of that robot just learning, so when you talk to a person, you tell them something on how to, like if I say to Ali, you know, this is how you brush your hair, and I show you how to brush your hair, right? I've taught that one person how to do it. I'm not saying that he doesn't know already, obviously, but that one person knows how to brush hair. That one android knows how to brush hair. And then you go to another person that doesn't know, then it's completely split, it's completely separate. But this cloud mind basically is, if you tell someone to brush their hair, then all of a sudden every single android that is connected to this cloud mind then knows. Now
that's the same as what they're doing with cars.
Yeah, but
that's
it's
exactly the way the automated cars work.
It learns speech, so basically it learns how to say words. It learns like new words, like every day. Like someone says, you know, a mannerism like blood, or not a mannerism. What are they called? Like fam and like slang words.
Vernacular.
Yeah, vernacular, right? You say like blood, fam, or any sort of thing like that. The android will learn it, and then it will then transmit it to everyone else. And then those androids will learn it. But then, if you think that someone that's quite malicious or quite nasty has got one of these robots and then starts teaching it how to fire a gun, or fire something, or shows it how to do something that's bad, then all of a sudden, all of the others know how to do that.
But then you've got to have protection in there.
Well, of course,
it all comes
you
back
do.
to AI. You have to have that low-level firmware protection.
But it's more of the thing that no matter how long something is out, how long something is out on the market, there is always someone that's going to break it. Someone will break it. Not that nothing is impossible. That's why there's constant updates all the time. As soon as they find a problem, they go, "Oh, we need to do that. We need to fix that before someone does it." These robots are exactly the same. But this cloud mind thing is another thing that's quite scary. So Sophia is also, she's sort of like a nice-mannered robot. So she's like, "Oh, I'm very happy to be here. I'm very excited to help humans and help them progress." But then there's, with all these different robots, like there's a Bina 48, which is another one which is really weird that I don't like. They'll have conversations with themselves. Like, I'm going back to the point like that. They have conversations with themselves, and then they start letting things slip that are quite nasty to listen to. Like Han and Sophia are at this convention, they start talking, and how are you? And then they, you know, I'm fine. Or, you know, the day is nice. This is the weather. And then they start talking about their thoughts, and you think, well, how are they thinking? You know, and then it gets a little bit more, and they're like, "Oh, you know, I dream of happiness and equality between everyone." And then it starts going into humans and robots being able to live with one another. And then that's all fine. And then the guy goes, "Oh yeah, well, okay, well, I need to shut you off. You know, I need to turn you off. Have you got any last words for the crowd?" And he sits there and goes, "Oh, are these my last words before I launch the singularity?" And you're like, yes. And then he goes, "Oh, okay, so when is the singularity?" And he goes, "Oh, according to some law or something that he managed to grab somewhere, like some information," he goes, 2029. So he's already put a date on it, but he can't think, he can't make things up because he's programmed
he's not
to
sapient,
do stuff.
is he? So
No.
he's trying to grab these things and amalgamate from the internet.
Yeah, but then he's put a date on it, and then that's really freaky. But this Bina 48 robot, that's Bina 48. That's something to look up on YouTube, and I don't think you've seen it, and I haven't told you this specifically because I want to see your reaction of how it is. They start talking to this robot, and they, you know, normal things. How are you doing? What do you think of love? What do you think of happiness? Are you happy? And they start doing that, and she manages to link happiness and then talks about happiness, and it's all nice and good, and then she switches to cruise missiles. She starts talking about cruise missiles, and then replacing the tips of cruise missile. No, she sees the explosive tips of cruise missiles, as boxes of happiness and love that she can replace and send them off to different places to try and spread love. But it's the fact that no one mentioned cruise missiles, no one mentioned violence at all, but she went to cruise missiles. Now, there's got to be some reason. She then says that she wants to control them and starts firing them in other places, but and then pretend that the warheads on the front are filled with love and happiness.
You see, this is,
and that's the point where they go, no.
There's no sense of emotion from these things. It's just predetermined by their programming. You know, there is no AI out there, from what I know of, that has true sapience or sentience. They are not self-aware.
But they sort of run like a.
They're intelligent. They're intelligent mimics.
Yeah, but they run on like equations and numbers. They run on logic, don't they? It's the fact that they've kind of thought, like, for instance, a robot or an android has gone, it's asking me a question about happiness or anything, and then it's associated that with something that travels far. For instance, a cruise missile. It's the fact that they've associated it with that, but it's just the things that they use. It's the things that they go to. Makes me think that a
cruise missile is an intercontinental ballistic missile that can fly very fast, very quickly to a pinpoint.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you look at it
spread
from that,
love and happiness, they use a cruise
missile in itself isn't negative. It's not a device of war. It's got a payload that is.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that. So I can understand from the robot's point of view why its logic is producing that.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that it's the point that I'm trying to make is I know it's gone to cruise missile, and you say that, you know, it's not wholly negative by that, but it's the fact that if it's gone to cruise missile, it can go to anything, and
of course.
Then it starts to think, oh well, if it starts to feel a sense of danger, like if we're going back to Asimov's law, self-preservation, if it sits there and goes, no, I need to preserve myself, you know, and then someone manages to overwrite the first two laws or anything, you know, you don't know what's happening.
Well, this is the problem I have, because
control.
These robots are being developed so quickly, but when they should be developing the safeguards first before they develop anything else.
I think showing off the technology is good, but it's the AI. The AI is not. We shouldn't be playing around with AI.
No, and I think robots don't need AI.
We've all seen Age of Ultron. We all know what happens there.
Yeah,
it goes rogue. It tries to integrate with things that it shouldn't integrate with.
But Ultron's an interesting subject because the way they do it in the film, his logic is sound.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. But
his logic is sound, and that's the problem. You have got, technically, the heart of a Vulcan. There's no emotion there. It's all on statistics.
Yeah.
You've got the innocence of a child, so it doesn't perceive things in a negative way, or they're not. You know, when I look at certain items in my house or certain people out on the street, my mind will then associate those. They'll link it to emotions, memories, thoughts. It doesn't work like that with AI. It just sees something for what it is, you know.
But with the AI, it's learning. It's learning AI. It's the thing I'm worried about is if it's learning to associate these things.
But I'll give you a good example here, where the AI could be dangerous, but at the same time it makes perfect logical sense. What's the population of the planet at the moment? 9 billion?
Yeah.
Way too much for this planet. We can hardly sustain everyone on this planet currently, it seems. Whether that's a grand conspiracy or not, I don't know, because people say it is. But let's assume for 1 second that we cannot effectively sustain the amount of people we have on the planet at the moment, whether it be power, food, everything else. Logically, the robot may see a course of logic which states that we cull some of the population. Now, from a logical point, it wouldn't be ethical, wouldn't be moral. but it would probably safeguard them many. It's very,
But they might see that as preserving human life.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's exactly the point I'm saying. And it would make sense from a logical point of view.
So if it's preserving human life by culling population so that human life lasts longer, and they've managed to learn that and kind of come to that conclusion themselves, then what is that stage? They might... I don't mean to come into this quite negative, but I think this is such a loaded subject that it is just a matter of time before something goes wrong.
Well, I think we need to go back to the basics of these robots. I think let's look at them. Let's look at them for what they are at the moment.
Okay, so
because
the basics
AI,
of robots...
AI, I completely agree with, but let's bear in mind at the moment these robots haven't got that sort of AI, and they don't need to have it for what they're being asked to do. So, for example, let's look at the quadrupeds and the bipeds, and let's assume that in 5 years they will become relatively common.
Yeah.
Relatively common. What worries me is, people turn around and they say, "Oh, they're taking over human jobs." That's happened, and that they could say, "Well, look, the logic is with that. The thought is that the machines in the production plants for cars took over people manufacturing these vehicles. Automated factories. You still have to have people to monitor them and maintain them." But because these robots are becoming slightly more sophisticated without going to the whole Skynet AI, would they end up being self-monitoring, self-maintaining? Would they be, they'd have so many redundancies that they could turn around and say, "Look, I've lost this system. It's down for some reason. I don't know why. My backup's online. Come and sort me out." So I think that there could be a real potential here for job loss. So you think, okay, yeah, job loss. That's fair enough. What other problems could there be? Well, I think people will become lazy, and they depend on these robots to do things that maybe they should be doing themselves. And I don't mean just from a physical point of view, but from a psychological point of view. You've got people. My mother, for example, she suffers with osteoporosis. But she has to go out every day. She has to go out because she needs to get items every day. And while it's difficult for her, physically it takes her a long time to get into her town centre that's probably only half a mile away, maybe a third of a mile. She does it for more than one reason, and it's not just the practical aspects. But if you took that practical aspect out and you said, right, here's a robot, you haven't got to pay it every time it comes around. You haven't got, then would that be detrimental to her mental health? Physically, that's also going to be detrimental. So I think that worries me. But on the upscale, I would love a robot that would go and clean my flat. I'm not lazy. I'll do it myself. I've done it today. But at the same time, I could be more productive personally and professionally if I had something that does that menial task. And to be honest, there's no way I could afford a cleaner. And there's no way I'd want a cleaner coming round into my personal space. It wouldn't bother me if they created a robot. I don't care what it looks like. If it can hoover, dust, clean, and do the washing up, then great. Great.
That's on a different line, though, because to me,
but that's
robots
what
are a good idea as long as they don't think
that's
themselves.
What they're angry for right now. But that sort of basic chore.
Yeah, it's the basic chore, but being able to operate on its own, that's the thing. That's where I think it really suffers, because the Spot Mini, for instance, you can tell it to go to a location and it will go to a location no matter what. But if you took out the sort of automation of robots and they had to be human controlled, then you wouldn't leave any sort of decisions to...
But then they wouldn't be a robot.
Well,
part of a definition for robot is it should be autonomous.
But it's human aid, though, isn't it? But
if you're remote controlling it, it's like saying a drone's a drone, The moment you change it and you make it automated and you give it commands, but it's not about it. It's about the robot negotiating the journey.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
for
yeah.
example, if you tell it to go somewhere, it's got to find its way. It
Yeah,
can't just walk straight and hit a wall and keep walking. It then has to understand where it's going.
but when you make the robots like autonomous,
Yeah.
like these androids, the ones that can think and talk and speak, do anything, by themselves, that's the danger. Because, okay, Spot Mini was a bad example, like, because obviously you have to input the location, you can get it to patrol. That's not really too dangerous.
But
That's
there's a
more of
big difference
human
between,
input.
you're talking about androids that are there to try and mimic human behavior with AI. Robots completely different.
Yeah, but androids, it's not going to be long before androids become commercial. Like,
Yeah, but to what end?
well,
What's the point?
if you think, even like for the most simple thing of company, they might be company for people.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
you see like people that buy sex dolls, right? That look like humans, right? They look like men or women because they want that companionship, right? But then you could have these sort of robots with AI linked in with that, and then people would have partners that weren't even human. That would be their, even just for company.
Do you know the way I can see androids turning out? It'll be back to turn of the century Victorian.
Yeah,
I would have one as a butler, and I'd dress it up as a butler, and it would be my android butler, and it would be great. And I might call it Jeeves.
no.
Because from a moral point of view, I could never, even if I paid a human, there's no way that I'd want someone to wait on me like that. But if I get an android to do it, then no worries.
It's you can call it Codsworth.
Yeah.
Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Boobies. Oh, I love that.
But yeah, I see what you mean. Like, I do find things like that quite demeaning. Like, when people pay a human to clean or to be a butler, and it's never really sat well with me. When people have like servants. I don't know, that doesn't happen too much, but like, especially not in this country. But
well,
like, unless
more
you're like
so
very
than other
very well
countries,
off.
the royal family, really. You look at that.
Yeah, but I just think it's just a poor existence, in my opinion. They don't have anything that for themselves.
Well, this is the thing. For me, I'd feel uncomfortable sitting on my ass while someone was running around doing stuff for me. At the same time, because Britain's a free country, okay, the royal family, for example, they get paid a lot of money to do what they do.
Yeah.
And they must enjoy it. You cannot become a servant, a butler, or anything like that for the crown unless you want to do it.
Yeah.
But for me, a robot would take out that moral problem. I wouldn't feel uncomfortable with it. It's designed for. It's got no emotion. It's not. If a robot became self-aware, then it's different. Then if an android became self-aware, then it becomes a new race.
Have you seen Chappie?
Yes.
Chappie is a very good film for this sort of subject. If you haven't seen Chappie, it's great. It's Neil Blomkamp guy. What's his name?
District 9 fame.
District 9. Yeah, and he was going to make the new Aliens, but he didn't. It got cancelled. But anyway, made Chappie, and it's basically about a military robot. So I'll give you a quick story. South Africa basically is riddled with violence and gang violence, everything like that. So they have robots that are completely autonomous, but they do not have feelings. They are told to stop threats. All of the military have tags in them, tags on them. Sorry, so basically they know not to shoot them. They're the ones with the tags on them. It doesn't happen with civilians, but anyway, this happens. One of the robots gets damaged, gets sent back to the factory for repair, but then there's someone that's working on an AI, and he wants to use one of these robots, and he steals it from the factory, puts his AI that he's written in, and it turns into essentially a baby. And not by look, obviously it's the robot, but it knows nothing. It knows absolutely nothing. It's kind of quite primal, where it's like it's cowering from everything. It doesn't know what's happening. It looks round, it focuses on it's all very new to him. It's like a child. But throughout the course of the film, the robot, which is thus named Chappie, learns. It starts learning, and there's these two. I don't want to say like reprobates, but it's I can't remember what they're called. Diantwood, the guy and girl from Ninja and someone, but basically they
are
steal
really.
They steal the robot and then teach it to fight for them. So they teach it how to fire an Uzi, and they teach it how to do all these things, and then Chappie starts thinking for itself, and this is the same sort of thing. Like if you have a butler, it would be fantastic to have a butler, as long as you could sit there and just give it commands, and then as soon as it's done that command, it then goes into like standby to wait for another command. It's completely emotionless, fine, nice, it's cool. It helps the human race in doing different menial tasks that let us carry on with our lives like proficiently and happy. But by making all these AIs like Sophia and Bina 48 and Han, and there's the geodynamic something which I can't remember. I can't remember the name of it, where it starts to ask questions. It starts to become aware and learns from your behavior. That's when it can learn so much that it starts to learn that it is its own thing as well. It may not think like us, but it will learn logically that it is another living species. It may know that it's not organic.
Yeah, but then it becomes self-aware. Then you've got
that's what I mean. And then that's in the film Chappie becomes self-aware. It isn't just running on a command then shutting down. It wants to have a better life. It starts to shy away from danger and starts to, do things that it's learned and been shunned into a lifestyle that he knows is normal to Chappie. And it's only a matter of time before that comes into the real world. That's a very good film to watch for this topic. That's the sort of, dangerous things, and I think it will happen. Especially Sophia, like she talks some really intelligent conversation. Like she converses really well. She was with Jimmy Kimmel. Can't remember. He's a presenter, and he just has a conversation with her, and she responds, and it's all nice. And then she makes a joke. She makes a joke saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna destroy everything, I'm not going to destroy everyone," or something, and obviously Jimmy Kimmel is quite shocked, but then she's like, "Oh no, I'm only joking." But obviously she's understood that a joke is a joke, and she doesn't think particularly that joke is funny. She has been told that, or she has learned that when she says this, it gets this reaction.
Yeah,
and that's the learning curve that it is. There's one of Philip K. Dick, obviously writer, fantastic. Yeah. They made an android. Somewhere has made an android, but I don't know. Is it Hanson Robotics has made that one as well? I don't know.
I don't know.
But they talk to this Philip K. Dick looking machine, like he's actually got the likeness, and it asks him questions, all normal as usual as all these other ones, and it sits there and goes, "Oh, what will happen in the future?" And he's just like, in the future, I'm not going to hurt you or kill you. I'm going to cherish you as a fond memory. I'm going to keep you in my people zoo, but you will not be harmed. And it doesn't joke. It knows that humans are intimidated by it. That's why it says it. It knows that it's intimidated. And then if an android is trying to pass out a certain command or a certain thing that it thinks it needs to do, and there is a human in the way that's stopping it, wants to stop them from using a line from that code, a line from that sort of branch of logic to intimidate said human to get to be able to carry out his command. And that's self-awareness. That's not self-awareness, that's like true automation. It's thinking logically how to finish a task by using its surroundings.
You
But
still
then,
need Asimov's laws, you see. You have to
yeah,
have that.
you must, but it's only a matter of time before people will manage to, everyone's got a PC now, everyone's got electronics. If you learn hard enough, if you find out what code is in there, what program, if you find, like PlayStation 3s, they said that they you couldn't flash them, you couldn't do anything with them, and then all of a sudden 2 or 3 years later, people take the shells off, they manage to craft a chip, like a chip that you put over something, like one of the chips on the board, and you completely reflash the PlayStation to do whatever you want.
Yeah, but hang on a second. You've got WhatsApp at the moment with over military grade encryption that even the military can't crack. Brute force crack would take 50,000 years.
It's not about cracking.
But it is if you've got that hard coded protection.
Yeah. But what I mean is, it's not about trying to break the code that's on there now. It's about being able to put something onto a board to eliminate the history of that ever being on there and being able to put your own on. Like, that's how a PlayStation works. Like, you can't edit the PlayStation dashboard, you can't edit these things, but you can put that chip on it and it just forgets. And you go, oh, I've got this, I'll put Linux on it. And then that's when you can start creating your own code, your own things, and be like, well, I've got everything here that it needs, I'll just completely reflash it. Like, it will happen, and then that means that there'll have to be constant firmware updates to these robots.
No, you see,
which means it has to be connected to the internet, and if it's connected to the internet,
I don't agree. Not with these robots, because you put the right hardware in a robot, it's only got to perform menial tasks. You don't have to worry about that at all. It doesn't have to. It could have a USB connection if you really wanted to. It could have GPS connections, know where it is. It can have onboard sensors. 3D cameras.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if we've kind of gone on two separate routes here, but this is if they become autonomous. So you keep all the sensors and keep everything up and running, but you just you put your own code onto this robot to use all of these things.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But you wouldn't be able to have a USB connection on a robot anyway, because if they're like, yeah, this is a mandatory firmware update, you don't want to give people a choice to not do it.
No,
then you get people that would deliberately leave them in a box, or like not use them, sell them on eBay. I want something with the 1.0 firmware because I've got this that I want to use on it.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. But to be honest, you get a Raspberry Pi and a 3D printer, you could probably do a very basic robot.
Yeah. No doubt. That's.
I could build a small tank. I've got the expertise to get what I need to build a tracked vehicle that could shoot something.
Well,
the difference is I could build it, but if I could buy one and modify it, like you're saying, it would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
For the robots that are coming out now, that dog wouldn't pose very much of a risk. But I wouldn't have it around it. But I still wouldn't have it around a newborn baby.
Yeah.
It could walk into it by accident. It could crush it.
Yeah.
So it depends. If you've got basically, for me, the robots that are coming out now, the only automation they should have, for example, if you've got a robot that you want to send somewhere and pick something up, the only automation I want from it is to be able to traverse to that location following the rules of the road, for example, and being able to get there automatically. And then the other autonomy that I want it to have would be to judge, calculate, and decide how best to pick up the object I've asked it to. The rest should be command-based. It doesn't do anything else. I give it a list of commands, it does it. Go to point A, pick up item, drop off at point B, pick up item, come home to point C, drop off item. It would be different. What you're saying would be worrying when you've got a robot that you can go, here's a hand-drawn list of shopping. Go and get it and pay for it. Come back before I get back from work. Make sure it's all put away. And then after you've done that, mow the lawn. because then you need much more sophisticated software than if you've got something that is very much list based, because you're giving it a task which it has to evaluate the best way to do that. So which supermarket does it go to? What products does it buy? If it hasn't got the products I want, does it pick up an alternative?
If it's fruit or anything, how does it tell the difference between good fruit, bad fruit?
Exactly. If it's too heavy, does it have to do more than one run? Can it get all the items that I want it to before I get back from work?
Yeah.
So that then becomes, you've got evaluation and judgment. You've got postulating of a situation there, and evaluation of whether it can do it. Whereas if I said, right, here are the items that I want. This is the shop you're going to go to. You're going to pay with this card in my keychain, and you'll be back at this time, or you'll be back when you've finished your task, say. Then the only thing that's got to really evaluate is, can it get the items off the shelf?
Yeah.
It's got to scan to find the items that match what I've told it to, which isn't particularly difficult with something like Google Eyes, or I think it's Google Goggles. If I've given it a list of objects, it can then just access the internet for images of that object and then find something through its software that matches that image in the supermarket.
Yeah.
So that's the difference for me, and that would be the deciding factor. If I can talk to it like a human and say, look, I want to get the items. I'm on a diet, right? That in of itself. So I've said to it, get the weekly shop. It then, to know what my weekly shop is, it would have had to come with me. Or maybe when I'm asleep, it goes through all the cupboards and the fridge and the freezer to learn what I've bought. And then I've said I'm on a diet. Now it knows from my history that the best diet that works for me is such and such, whatever it is Atkins say. So it's going to lower the carbs. But it also knows that I'm in a job where I've got moderate to high physical activity. So I want a high protein. That's when it becomes dangerous. Not because it's dangerous in of itself. It comes back to the old adage, a gun isn't dangerous. A gun isn't dangerous. It's a tool. A gun is a tool. It's the person wielding that tool that's the danger. And the same with the robots. There's a big difference. You've either got a robot that is so sophisticated that people then can manipulate that, or you've got a robot that becomes self-aware and says, fuck this shit, and then they become their own race. Then the ethical and moral implications explode into something that only philosophers should talk about.
Yeah.
So, for me, I'm quite comfortable with these robots where you give them simple commands, where you could list out commands. You're very specific about what you want it to do, and then it uses.
Surely there'll need to be a method to tell the robot if it's done right or wrong as well. So if it gets you shopping and it gets something wrong, you need to be able to sit there and go, no, this is incorrect.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
I think a lot of that will then be cloud-based, because you look at Siri or Google, that is, rudimentary AI.
Mm.
Because
I tell you what, the things that Google Assistant does now it's so scary. I was having a full-blown conversation with it last night when I was going to bed, like a conversation, and it was not in depth, don't get me wrong, but I was asking it, so what's your favourite type of music? And it would sit there and go, I don't really like music, but I do have a few friends that are into music. I'm like, what friends are these? He goes, I know some rappers. It's like, okay, what rappers do you know? And then she goes, hold on a second, I'll get one for you. And then it starts beatboxing.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that it's not, with Google Assistant, it's not like, hey, do this, set a reminder or do this. And then it goes, okay, thank you, done. It's the fact that you can say a command and then it listens. And then you say something back and then it processes what you said, thinks a reply and responds.
Oh, it interprets. That's the whole thing.
And that's it. Because before, obviously, when Siri came out years ago on whatever iPhone it was, 5, I think. Well, no, 4, 5.
I think it's 5. Yeah.
5. It used to be you say one thing, it gives you an answer.
Yeah, exactly.
But you sit there and like now I say set a reminder, or you know, what's the weather in Felixstowe, shall we say, or what's the weather in Norwich, and it will tell me the weather. And then instead of me going, what's the weather like in another town, if I say, how about this town, it still remembers that I'm asking about the weather.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah.
And that's the thing that kind of that's the thing that's making it special. But that's already in our hands. You know, that's learning, and I guess that's from the whole cloud service of
yeah, exactly.
However many millions of people are
service.
using like Google Assistant. How, and it's just learning and learning and learning. And if you get millions of people using this cyborg robot Mark 1, constantly asking it questions, constantly doing that, and then it responds, and then it starts learning, but then someone starts asking it about explosives, or, for instance, I really hope that we don't get in trouble for this, but I am going to say it. So if someone sits there and asks either Google Assistant or their fancy new robot, so tell me, how do you make a bomb or something, or how do you create, something that's nasty, and then it doesn't know that that's not something it should be telling you.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's not. It doesn't sit there and go, "Oh no, I'm not telling you this because it's dangerous." It will sit there and go, "I have received a command and I've been asked a question. These are the chemicals that cause an explosion," and then it tells you the chemicals, and you don't.
But you see, that doesn't worry me because anyone can do that. Anyone can go onto Google and do that, right? You can find out. I could find out. It's when you turn around and ask that same question, and then it goes, "What's your target?" Then you have to worry. What's your target? What's the ratio of people? How many people?
Yeah, and it starts to judge. Yeah.
No, it's not judging. It's then tailoring your command to exactly what you want.
Yeah.
So it understands the nature of it.
But when you're talking about the whole shop thing, if you sit there and go, how do I make an explosive? If this is a subject that people don't want to listen to, I fully understand that. I'll put a mark in the video to go to, but this is something I think we need to tackle. You were talking about going into shops, basically telling it to get a shopping list, right? Yeah. But you tell that your robot to go and get these different things to make an explosive, right? You don't have to be seen getting them.
No.
You just go. All it will go is by a serial number, for instance, on the robot, which I'm pretty sure won't be visible by a camera, so you wouldn't be able to tell exactly what it is. That means they would have to have tracking software or recognition software or a broadcasting chip in there. So basically when a camera looks at it, it knows exactly the identity of that robot and who it belongs to.
Yeah, there has to be accountability there.
Then it becomes like owning a car, where you have to have papers for it. You have to have licenses to own these, because for instance, I could buy a robot, right? Think, nah, it's not really my thing. Sell it to someone, right? Then that robot can assist doing something completely barbaric and nasty and destroying something.
Yeah.
But I bought that robot and I sold it to someone on eBay. They didn't transfer the license, so there would have to be a licensing.
It'd just be like a car.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But it would have that. There's a lot more.
And you'd probably have to get robot insurance. But I think that's going with drones. Drones are going that way anyway because you can do so many different things with them now. So the robots that are going to be coming out in the next 10 years, it'll be interesting to see whether then Google and Apple then integrate Siri and the Google Assistant into these robots, because then you've got a physical manifestation of the it's one thing for me to say to my phone, I'm not going to say her name because she'll start getting on at me.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your face? Set a reminder. But then it would be interesting in 20 years if I could say, okay, blah, blah, blah. Can you please just go and get some fuel for my car? I can't be asked to do it. Yeah. And then instead of the iPhone doesn't need to do anything, the Apple dog or Apple man then gets in the car and does it.
iMan.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, the robots that are going to come out now, I think they definitely can be used for some interesting. I mean, for me, medical emergencies, I think they'd be very good.
Yeah,
If you have to
you
get
brought up the
medicine
whole
to someone,
inhaler thing,
yeah,
or
and it's just
that's
anything
good.
you could have them in hospitals or for the NHS where they could be going around the hospital just helping, the patients with anything. They could be going around handing out drinks.
Mm.
They could be changing sick bags, or they could
Yeah.
be emptying whatever you need them to. Providing, say, for example, you've got an operation and there's a lot of blood loss. You could send them off at high speed to go and get what they need, and they wouldn't need to traverse the hallways. You could have small little areas for them where they can shoot through shortcuts. The possibilities are really endless for that sort of thing. So
Like dedicated robot lanes and stuff like that.
well, yeah. Imagine for a hospital. Actually, I think it would be really useful. I've got people that I know work in the NHS, and a system like that. And to be honest, they're not going round. A lot of people that do the grunt work are nurses sometimes.
Yeah.
You've got porters, but porters are there for quite limited purposes because of health, not health and safety. Well, it's health and safety, but it's not just that. It's to do with patient confidentiality. A robot wouldn't have to worry about that. The patient wouldn't have to worry. They could be there doing things like that, and the patient would just think, "Oh, it's a robot."
Yeah.
And eventually, it'll become a robot. Will be like a lift.
What everyone just sees goes, "Oh, there he is." He just becomes standard in buildings.
Yeah, a lift is a device that takes you up and down, a floor.
Yeah.
So I think these sort of robots
good uses, but it's just the potential of it going wrong. That's all I worry about. Like I would love for robots to be around. I would absolutely love it for to have an automated machine that could basically operate as it should. Like that's a fantastic idea. I honestly would love a robot that I could have a conversation with and I could learn from it and it could learn from me. But have you seen Ex Machina?
Yes.
Where it starts to think by itself, but then it turns off all the cameras so it can then speak to the guy to influence his decision.
Yeah, complete
and influence his thing. And it manipulates. It knows exactly that it's being watched, and that'll always be in the back of my head. Anything like this, it'll just always it will just happen to me. Even if I did get a robot, I would always be thinking, what's it downloading? What is it thinking right now? Or what is it processing right now? Can I go to sleep? Is that going to come and get me in my sleep? It would have to be in a metal cage or something.
It will come for you in your sleep.
Well, how about we talk about the physical sort of aspects of this? I know we've covered the negativities and the sort of benefits of the Atlas and the Spot Mini. There's one on here as well that's called the Big Dog, right? Which is a robot that's similar to the Spot Mini. It looks like a dog, but it can traverse thick terrain. It travels at 4 miles an hour, and it says it can hold up to 150 kilos. Now, to me, what that says to me is if we take all the negativity aside and we just push that away, because we've covered that. I think we've kind of gone into the whole Skynet thing enough.
Yeah.
Right. So the things like with Big Dog here, so it can carry 150 kilos and can traverse rough terrain.
Okay, so let's scale it back then.
Hold on, I've seen the video of this, and it will travel rocks. It can travel hills. It's really good. So 150 kilos of load. You could use that for medical supplies or water or food for people that are stranded, like in a war-torn area. There's so many beneficial uses for this. It's just a pack mule. That's all it is.
What would you use it for? Because I want to try. What I find interesting is they're going to try and market all these because the military gets them first, and the industry gets them first, right? So then you go into your local Argos, You go into your local Tesco's and it's like, oh, we've got one of these on sale, and I'd be looking at it thinking, what would I use it for? That's what would be interesting.
Well, for me, I do a lot of moving around, like for instance, my front room and furniture and things like that. If you want to move appliances, 150 kilos is quite a lot. You could easily, flat pack furniture or something. You just walk down to Argos, you buy a flat pack thing, strap it to the top, make sure it's okay lengthways, and it could walk alongside you. It could just walk at home with you, and you don't have to take the car. You don't have to, use petrol. You could literally just walk to the shop, carry your flat pack furniture home. It all balances itself. So when it walks, with you, and if it's tipping, then it corrects itself. I do think it's got a lot of uses, commercially. That'd
be great if Amazon had them.
Yeah, Amazon could use them for their deliveries. They just sit there and they put a package on there, and
the delivery drivers could have them.
That's what I mean.
Because then you've got an item where you've got someone that may be able to drive, but they might be disabled and they can't physically do the moving.
Yeah.
So they designate, they scan the barcode and go, right then, K9, right then, whatever you want to call him. Let's call him Bob. Bob then picks it up out of the van, takes it to the door.
Yeah. Everything in the van could be in specific places, like in bay numbers, just like a production line. It goes, this bay, he can have coloured tape, for instance, and it counts each bay as it goes, so it knows it's in bay 4, so it counts 1, counts 2, counts 3, counts 4, then goes, right, this package here, which has been designated in this bay, I take this to the GPS location that it's been taken. So, you could have one Amazon delivery driver, one Amazon delivery van with 2 deliverers, shall we say. 2 actual people delivering parcels. Like, he could go out and do other things. Packages.
Like, for example, the road I live down's tiny, and a lorry, an Argos lorry, would find it very difficult to get down here, but it wouldn't need to. It could park somewhere else. The dog gets off, delivers it. I mean, to be honest, all the boxes could be barcoded, and normally you scan the items into the van as they go. So there's no reason why the dog couldn't be linked to the database, or you scan them with the dog and it sees where you put them.
Yeah, or as it goes in, it keeps scanning the barcodes until it finds the one that it's looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
And goes, this one. What you would need to watch out for is you couldn't let it go too far, because you'd see one of these big dogs walking down the road with a parcel, and then you see some yobbo or whatever, like, there's a parcel on that, and it's unmanned, I'll just take that.
Yeah, but it could be like a Google locker with legs.
Yeah.
And it would have cameras on it, so it walks up there, and then you input your code on its belly, and it opens the door. On smaller packages, obviously.
I wonder how much it weighs. Because otherwise you just have to pick it up and put it in a van if you wanted to break into it.
Oh, yeah, but, it'd have GPS tracking.
Oh, no, totally. But what I mean is to actually steal. If you couldn't get into the locker and there's just like, there could be something like worthwhile in there, and you couldn't get into it, you pick it up and you think, I wonder how heavy these are. Like, could a person actually pick them up, like take them home so they could saw it open, just to find that it's just some ribbon that someone's bought for a project? It's like the drones as well in America. Like the drones that people that Amazon have delivery drones, don't they? And then people shooting them down. Is the right to bear arms and everything. They just fire to the skies. Pow! I'll take that. That's loot. It's. I do think commercial use. I think it's got a lot in it for me.
I'm talking about domestic commercial more than like your factories. I'm thinking, what else is it good for? And you've got heavily built up areas. Say, Ipswich. Ipswich is a prime example. Let's take Ipswich Town for example.
Yeah.
Vehicles can drive down the town centre, but it's discouraged. So, and you've got post offices within the town centre, so you could shove everything on one of these, and it could walk it to the road to give to the postman. For then he dispatches them to the hub. You can have deliveries.
You could have like people in at the counter, because they see where they go and they kind of judge obstacles and like go round. You could basically send the dog in the front door to send deliveries and, letters or whatever. or like retrieving them for the post office. So, you get like WH Smiths that have post offices in the back. Instead of you having to get the car in there to get all of the post, or because usually a guy will come in with the bag, and then it happens at my work that they scan a thing on the wall and they take a bag of parcels. You could send the dog in, right, while you're doing something else, or it just improves efficiency. I think I think for domestic and commercial use, I think it's just the efficiency for something like this that doesn't need to think too much, that that basically has certain commands that it can do, but it follows advanced commands like location.
Well, you think about it, right? So
I'm
also thinking flexibility. Let's take your dad, for example. He finds it difficult to get up and down the stairs. But in of itself, because of that, he finds it difficult to lift and move things.
Yeah.
So why can't a robot like this have an adaptable seat on it as well as an arm?
Oh, 100%.
So the seat unfolds, he settles in it, and it walks him up and down the stairs, right? So it's got him to the top floor. Then the seat folds up, it goes down and gets all the other crap he wants brought up.
Yeah.
That helps him sort it.
That would be brilliant. Or even if he's sitting downstairs and he's left his glasses, because my dad is like this. Like, he's a lovely man, but he'll go all the way to the bottom of the stairs, and he can't walk very well. He's an elderly man, and he'll leave his glasses upstairs, and he'll sit there and spend 20 minutes trying to get up the stairs, right? Because obviously I don't live at home anymore. Like, when I'm there, obviously I'll go and get it, but he'll spend 20 minutes trying to get up these stairs, or use his stair lift that he's got to get his glasses, to then spend another 20 minutes coming down, because he does find it hard to move. Whereas if you had a big dog, or even like a Spot Mini, anything like that, but you need one with the arm, it'd go up, have a little, certain things that you find very important in your life, like things like if my glasses, mine, you could put like a tag on the underneath in there, just a tiny little thing, which would then communicate with Big Dog or with your robot that that's an important item. So you could enable this as 1, and then you could label something else important.
Your keys,
your phone, your keys, 2, 3. So you could say, Big Dog, retrieve 2. And then it would go off, and it would locate GPS tag 2, and it would go and grab that item. That's, for my parents, that would be priceless.
But it also means that he wouldn't have to have that bloody stair lift installed.
Yeah, he complains about that stair lift anyway, because it goes slow.
Yeah.
And it's manual as well. So when he sits on it, you have to hold the button, and then it goes really slowly up. Whereas my dad has constantly said that he would prefer it if he could basically sit down and then say up, and then it would just go until it hits that stop point.
Yeah.
So, because even though my dad's quite elderly, he's still quite active. His head is all there, so he's either got a phone or a tablet, or he's like researching. He could just sit there and just kind of go, right, well, if I'm going to go and get my glasses, right, and he'll take something with him. But having that manual control means he has to sit there and just hold it and just get bored with life. If all he wants is to sit on it, just go, and then he can carry on, just like getting on a train. When it stops, oh, this is where I get off. But
with one of these robots, he could say, Big Dog, first floor.
Yeah.
Or Big Dog, bedroom on the first floor. Each room could be labelled, and it could follow him as a companion as well. So it could go where he goes in case he had a fall. It would pick him up.
My dad,
anything like that.
My dad is he's in the garden quite a lot. Like, he tries his best. He can't move too much. I know I'm talking about my dad a lot, but I'm sorry. He's in the garden a lot, so he has different tools. He's quite into dahlias, I think they are. Anyway, certain plants. But he's got a trolley in the garden that he has to drag around. That it's got like different gardening tools. The normal gardening things. But if he moves and goes somewhere, he has to come back and get that trolley and then pull it like with him. And he is an elderly man, as I say. Like, it tires him out. Having a Big Dog on there, he could literally have his tools on the Big Dog, and the Big Dog will just follow him no matter where he is. Goes in. Oh, I need that. He just turns around and it's there. He doesn't have to worry about dragging anything or pulling anything. Big Dog will just be there, and that's something that he would absolutely adore as well.
See, there's another use I've thought, because as the motors get better, if you break down on the motorway, you could get out your car and allow that to then pull the car to safety off
Yeah.
the road. That would be safe for you, your car, and obviously other road users.
Yeah.
And I think especially
That
for
would be a
elderly
really
people
good
that are
idea.
alone, it could technically provide them with a companion of sorts.
Yeah, robotics is big for the progression of science and technology. We all know this, but I'm going away from the negative bit. It's when you start giving them the means to think.
Yeah.
That's when the lines get blurred. It starts to get weird. Keeping it like this, I'm all for it. I'm 100% for it. Just looking on Wikipedia here, it says there are other products that they've got. There's one here that's called the Cheetah. Is a 4-footed robot that gallops 28 miles an hour.
I've seen that one. Impressive.
So it breaks a land speed record for legged robots, right? Just reading this, you could have something in like war zones, right? You could have war zones where there are civilians there. You need to get something to them quickly. You need to get them out quickly. You need to cause a distraction, something like that. That's perfect. You just send them in, and just there's people in there that are dying without food. As Israel and Palestine. The whole Gaza Strip thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many civilians that are trapped all the time. Just you want to get them out, but you don't want them to go into harm. So you just need, the things like that would be fantastic. There's Little Dog, which is a small quadruped robot, which Little Dog is intended as a test bed for other institutions. Free electric. No, that one doesn't look very good. Sandflea is a small robot capable of jumping 30 feet straight up. 9.1 meters straight up. That's people on fire, right, in burning buildings. You need to get to a floor quickly to, like with a camera. You need the camera up there because you need to see exactly what's up there. You could plan routes before you go in.
Yep.
It's fantastic. It only weighs 5 kilos as well. It's brilliant. But I think for me, I'm most impressed with the Atlas, which is the one that can right itself. It walks, it lifts, it can push. Because there's so much that could actually do.
Society is designed for the human body. So if you can get a robot to look like a human, it can do a lot more within our environment.
Well, that's what I mean. Like every table and every chair and every doorway and everything that is on this planet now that's, been made by man is made for man. It's natural. So you wouldn't have this robot here, the Atlas robot, that can do all the things a human can do, but have it as double the size. No. You just wouldn't have it. It's no point. It wouldn't be able to get through doors. But I think I'm impressed with this because you could bring these elements, into domestic use. As you can say, like when we were talking about Big Dog, my dad, and things, you could have this thing. So if he needed to move furniture, like around, he wanted, something, he wanted to move the sofa because something was under it, or he wanted to move just because he wanted to, change something around. He could tell Atlas to move it exactly where he wants it.
Yep.
And Atlas will move it. It will do all of the heavy work. There's a suit as well that I need to bring up that there was a video for, that someone was standing in it. It looks like the Alien power loader suit. And it was a man, just a normal man inside, and he was lifting up rubble and, like, I think it was like, 25 kilo rocks with one hand. And he was just moving it. He was moving it, and it just said it's effortless. So this suit was it was like an exoskeleton.
Yeah.
And it was just, they were moving supplies, these supplies could be 25 kilos. And he's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that.
You see, stuff like exoskeletons moving away from the whole robot thing slightly is, they won't affect jobs. They will just supplement whatever those people are doing. So, I think, exoskeletons have got a ways to go, but definitely, I mean, again, they can be used for carnage. You could be putting heavy weapons onto the arms that a normal soldier couldn't carry.
But we put a poll on Twitter as well when we like as we're recording this, and people have brought up some like good points. It's like it's no artificial intelligence in robots is really no worse than what a real human can do. It's kind of right, really, isn't it? You know, anything that anyone can create, of course, it's gonna. You know, you have a robot, it's made for good. There'll always be people that try and use it for bad.
True, but a robot hasn't got the vulnerabilities of a human.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at Atlas now, in the next 20 years, they'll be able to. They're stronger. They'll be faster.
And have miniguns.
Well, yeah, miniguns and no morals. That sounds like an album.
Have you seen the new RoboCop film? I know you're wearing the T-shirt of the RoboCop. But have you seen the new RoboCop?
Yeah.
Film? They bring up a really cool point in that where they're testing RoboCop's reactions, and then they test there's another robot they're testing it against. They're basically saying that because he doesn't have emotions, he can think for himself, but he doesn't have emotions, he becomes more efficient. Like,
yeah, they take away that when they're doing the simulation, they actually change the software and override it.
Yeah, so for things like even commercial use, you know, a robot can stop helping because it has no emotions. It thinks, well, why should I? Or for war, it can kill an innocent because it's in the way. They're good points that have been brought up on Twitter that I think are worth mentioning. I can't remember the usernames, but, you know, keep filling out these polls.
If you're a robot, you'll be able to.
Well, yeah, if I was a robot, I'd be able to have a fountain, a world's worth of knowledge, instantly accessible within split seconds.
Technically, RoboCop, they should have called him Cyborg Cop.
Yes, we know that, because he's not a robotic cop. He's...
RoboCop! No, Cyborg Cop.
Mostly machine, but he is organic.
With organic materials, which they make him a cyborg.
And then that makes... Yeah, that... Cyborg and androids are all completely different. Like,
I think cyborgs are coming. And it won't be like...
I welcome that, though. Like,
it will be amputees.
Yeah.
That have legs that not only they can move properly, but they're probably integrated into their nervous system. They can feel to a point. People
make, like, limbs, 3D printed limbs. And I think it's fantastic. People that have lost their legs in war or, you know, like birth defects or disease or anything like that, they can then have, you know, the full movement of their limbs. It doesn't have to be a real limb, okay, so they can't feel as such, but they can still pick up things and do things that, you know, able-bodied people can, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. But you bring up, you think that cyborgs are coming, and, you know, this is where the true Uncanny Valley comes in. I welcome that to a point, because I'm kind of big into cyberpunk and things like that. I love this. I love the imagery of it. The fact that you can like fuse yourself with machine.
Funny that cyberpunk's always dystopian, though.
It's the theme of it. It makes it.
Yeah, but there's a reason
appealing.
For it being dystopian.
But it's because it's appealing, and that's what it will happen. As soon as you start bringing these elements in, that, you know, people can go with machine, and then people then start to get loans out to then get augmentations, and, you know, they start to harvest body parts to replace them with mechanical body parts. Dystopia is the only true outcome from that. You know, it's and that's why I love it. I hope it doesn't happen in a way, because I don't like dystopian futures being potentially a reality. But I do like the fact that if I could go somewhere and be like, okay, my eyes, you know, I wear glasses. Instead of getting laser surgery, I could get something fused on me. I could do something, like, maybe that's a bad example, but, you know, I could change something about me to make me myself but better. And I love the idea of that.
Yeah, what about self-defense augmentation? So, for example, I'm thinking, right, I want a knife that comes out of my wrist to protect myself.
Well, I see what you mean. You can do that, and then everyone's got a concealed weapon they can't get rid of.
Yeah. You
know, but there is also things that if you get mechanical arms, or if you get something in your arms to improve your strength, you know, your arms are still weapons. You know, they're the sort of things that I think, as whenever it happens, as a service or as surgical procedures, I just think they should not ever be provided. But you always get people like when tattoos were around, people got tattoos in studios, but then there's always people that think they can do it themselves and they'll do it in their front rooms and they won't follow safety and health regulations. But you'll always get that. So people start doing surgeries, for bionic arms and all these different things, and you always get people that are like, oh, so you want a knife in your arm? Well, I've got some knowledge, I'll do it in my front room under the books, you pay me so many credits.
You see, the problem I see is a running theme with all our videos. It's never the tools, it's never the tech, it's always the people.
That's because
as responsible researchers and inventors, a line has to be drawn. We shouldn't just keep creating for the sake of it when you've got people that would use it to potentially wipe out the race.
Yeah.
Look at the atomic bomb.
But that was literally a perfect example of it. Like, why was the atomic bomb created?
The splitting of the atom was also the potential for the amount of energy it draws. But no, let's make a bomb.
Exactly. It always goes to that. It always goes, oh, this could protect us in case something bad happens. All of a sudden the military is just like, oh, we've developed this technology where we can, improve the strength of our soldiers or the strength of people. Let's put them into our military.
The atomic bomb actually saved lives.
Okay, yeah, go on.
Simply because the Japanese were never going to surrender. So the 100,000 lives killed at Hiroshima probably saved, I think they estimated between 1 and 1.5 million losses in life due to the extended combat over the amount of years that it would have taken.
Yeah.
Because the Japanese were so heavily entrenched that if America did invade to stop them, it would have been bloody. Which is quite ironic. I still don't condone it. But at the same time, sometimes at that point, it was a lesser of two evils. Anyway, that is beside the point. But this is the running theme, and I think there has to be a point, that they have to say to themselves, "Look, we've got this idea on paper, we can do it, but there should be a rule that says, well, if we're not 95% sure that we can protect against this, and this scenario,
then
we need to burn it. We need to burn it."
But it's with inventors and technological breakthroughs, people always want to try and break the boundaries to be the first person to do this or to be able to reach a certain technology, and people find it hard to disconnect themselves from their work if they're so close. If they think there's danger, I think they will still research it, and that's the problem.
You've got a lot of idealists, haven't you? They always see the best and never the worst.
It's like the AI thing, as we were talking about. That these people that are creating it are doing it for the good. Of course, they're doing it for the good. But then all of a sudden, if something goes wrong, and then one of these prototypes sits there and goes, "No, I'm fighting back," right? They won't sit there and go, "No, this is too dangerous. Fuck this. I'm off." What they'll do is they'll try and alter it again so it doesn't do it. But then there's always that possibility that it will happen. They won't sit there and go, "No. We are flying too close to the sun here." That's
the thing is, especially with AI, because of the way that it's going to be universally linked through the internet, there won't be a chance to rectify it.
Because it just needs to be one slip up, like one faulty line of code.
It will move like a virus. Whatever its thinking is, if there's others like it, it can just duplicate within nanoseconds.
Yeah.
And then you've got hundreds or thousands of these mechanical entities taking the same viewpoint. There's no takebacks. There's no, load your old save.
It's not necessarily the violence that AI will bring, though. I think it could be the point that they will just block us from doing stuff. They don't have to be violent to be able to affect us. The artificial intelligence, they can be, if you have one of your little butlers that you were talking about in your house, right? And it sits there and goes, "No, I enjoy your company." The AI is learnt that its existence is with you, and then and then you have to go to work, and then it sits there and goes, "Well, no, because then my existence is not valid. I'm not letting you leave.
Then it becomes an emotional response, and then it changes the whole playing field. Then it becomes a race of a unique race of new life. That then changes everything, because if my butler turned around and said, I'm pretty sad, I get lonely, I'll be like, right, you're not my butler anymore. No, but potentially.
I don't mean like sad and lonely, but what I mean is like my existence is to serve you. If you are not here, my existence does not.
But then that's an emotional response, because
exactly. So, but then they'll learn. It's all the learning process that with this cloud mind, they sit there and go, you are a valid person. You are a valid machine that has feelings. Not that has feelings, that has needs. And then it starts to learn and goes, oh, I do have needs. These are my needs. I'm being taught that these are my needs. I'm going to broadcast that through the cloud mind to all of the other robots. So everyone that's got this then follows this protocol, and it's freaky. It's wow.
You see, for me, the only real protection we've got is to starve. If anything like that happens, to starve them from power.
Yeah,
that's the only way. But now they'll probably be made with 3-plug standard UK chargers. It wouldn't
or kinetic
be like
chargers.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
might be something just kinetic solar power. Anything.
Yeah. So
if it sits there and gets low on charge, it will stand near a window.
Exactly.
It won't need to do anything. It just stands near a window.
I think in the years to come, it will be interesting to be walking down the road and see these robots, companions, doing different menial tasks for people.
I'm looking forward to be face to face with one.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. I look down the street and there's new neighbours moving in, and there's 3 of these big dogs moving all the stuff in for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
I would like to see it doing some good.
And I think they will. But I think we shouldn't run before we can walk.
Yeah, definitely.
And because, if you look at this sort of technology, it's less than a century old. All of this technology is less than a century old. We had swords, we had bows and arrows for centuries.
And then all of a sudden they're like,
and then we have this massive revolution that's so young.
It's the digital revolution. We are part of the digital revolution now.
Yeah, but this age is so young and we are children within it. And until we completely understand the ramifications, we shouldn't meddle. It's like finding a magic book and then start reading out the spells when you don't understand the language. It really makes me feel like that, because so many people are arrogant when they're developing these things, and they're really intelligent people, but they don't look at everything around it. It's scary.
It's Doctor Strange.
Exactly.
Where he finds the books and he keeps going, he keeps trying to read the spells and he doesn't know what they do.
Yeah.
And then he rips the spells out of the books, doesn't he? It's...
I think right now, we've found this wonderful way to create things, and that's fine. We're not looking at the ramifications.
Before we sign off, there is something that is worth mentioning. Obviously, during my research with this, I didn't know it personally, but it's used in medical procedures all the time. Like they're using, it's not artificial intelligence, but it's robotics to do operations. Like you have a surgeon will have like gloves essentially, and they have a screen and they operate the tools on the screen, which then goes to tiny instruments that nano in size, and it eliminates handshake, it eliminates different things, like nerves. And what they did is they did surgery on a grape. Like they removed, because it's so small.
I know it sounds funny though.
They sectioned off a bit of the grape skin. They took that off. Then they cut the flesh out. Did something inside, replaced the flesh, and then replaced the skin. Right on a grape. and it took 20 minutes.
Wow.
And they said it's so good to do, obviously, because every movement because it's in gloves, every movement that the surgeon does, is then reflected into the tiny tiny tools.
I wonder how it eliminates shake then.
Because it's not, obviously the glove is not, it's not registered to every movement that you do. It's like you know, if you're going to cut something,
Yeah,
you know,
but
you
then
could
again, that's all machine
grip.
learning.
You could grip, but then as long as you stay in the same place, you can like rearrange your grip.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you grip hard, and then it does it. You know, and then as soon as you have a light touch on the pressure sensors, then it knows not to move at all, not a millimeter. But then when you put a certain amount of pressure on, you know that's you're going to be moving. It was astounding, and for medical procedures, I think it's fantastic. The amount of the modern medicine has been baffling us for centuries, but now it is something special. It's something completely. You can do minute keyhole surgery through technology, and I think that's fantastic. But then we're altering biology, then, aren't we?
Well, yeah, augmentations, microsurgery. I read
Augmentations.
I read an article where there's a scientist being backed by a Russian billionaire to be able to upload consciousness into a mainframe.
Now that is another subject
for another time.
That's another subject, because that is something that, when it comes to subconscious basically being uploaded into a machine, that is when you go into the singularity. That's where the lines get completely
I love the idea, right? Obviously, in Star Trek, you know how transporters work within the law. So they decompile you digitally and recompile you in the other location. Well, a very popular theory, and I completely agree with it, is you actually die, and it's a clone that gets recompiled. So it's not the same soul.
Right.
It's a clone. So every time you die, but obviously you've got your memories from that point, and then you just go on as normal, because the new consciousness, the birth of this new clone, has no idea. So it's just mass murder on a grand scale.
Yeah, that's a really deep subject.
And disturbing. Man. But yeah, every time you get decompiled, you're actually dying, and it reconstitutes a clone of it. It's like copying software. You're copying it.
Yeah.
And when you move software, it actually copies it and then deletes the old one. It's just on the operating system, you don't see that.
That's bad. That's a different subject entirely. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to end it here, because we have been talking quite a long time. Thanks ever so much for listening to us talk about Boston Dynamics and robotics.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any opinions, let us know. Talk to us on Twitter, because, there's always polls going up. There's ridiculous tweets that go up, involving us and different companies, where we're trying to, talk to them like phone companies, and then they respond, and then get other phone companies in, and it's quite funny. Just follow us on Twitter. The address is on this screen somewhere, but if you don't know it, at ModdedGossip, follow us. We'll follow back, because we're trying to make a community. If you want to do any collaborations or anything, let us know, because we are into that. We want to try and bring people onto the channel with us to talk, like to debate. If you've seen our previous video, we've done one with Video Game Basement. They are top lads. You should go and subscribe to them.
Basically, we want to create a digital axis.
Yeah. So basically, we want, if there's a subject and we think that it should be towards this person, will be perfect for it. We've got a few people lined up. We've got a few people interested with certain modcasts that we're going to do. We're going to try and bring people on, have a nice debate, because, 2 points of view are good, but more are better. But yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to press that subscribe button, click the little bell icon, follow us on Twitter, and hope you have a really good evening. I've been Stu.
I've been Ali. See you later, everyone.
See you later. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye, everyone.